All right, we are in the final stretch. We are going to zero in on the archetypes of Cancer, Aquarius, and Scorpio. I want to first give the disclaimer. I'm recording on a different computer and I don't have my other mic hooked up. So, if you are a person that needs perfect clarity in order to enjoy video, I'm sorry. You might just have to go visit another one because it is what it is for this video right now. So, let me jump into it with Cancer. I do think that Cancer is one of those signs that people don't often really analyze the multiple dimensions of Cancer. There are some signs where there's just one tagline and people just run with it. And I think if you dive deeper into Cancer and what it really wants and what it needs, so Cancer's focus is on what it needs. And what Cancer's needs are obviously are different than other signs, but we also have to understand that the range in which Cancer is going to express things is going to usually depend on their comfort level, right? If Cancer is like the archetype number one, so this could be more of your textbook type of energy, the mood swings, the ups and downs. Because when you have to understand Cancer energy in the way when there's something that is expected, especially when a Cancer individual is anticipating something, and then that does not go according to plan. That is how the emotional sector of Cancer can be tapped into in a way that can sometimes produce negativity. Because to understand Cancer energy is to understand this wholeness that takes place when Cancer has what it really needs. I have Venus in Cancer. And though I don't think my Venus in Cancer is one of my placements that really stands out the most to me, to be honest, I do get it in the sense where I understand this need to the things that you like, the things that you want, the things that you need, the people, the circumstances, the sense of familiarity that Cancer clings to is very important for knowing and understanding what is safe. Okay? Right? You also have to think the archetype, the main archetype of Cancer, regardless of your gender, which is the mother, right? This idea of protection. Now, you don't have to be a mother, of course, right? I talk a lot about Cancer energy as well with creativity, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. But that's what we want to understand here with this energy. Now, because of that, if we do want to move into the sense of the ups and downs, it's not because the Cancer is choosing to wake up and be moody. Something has been disrupted, okay? And of course, the Cancer individual needs to learn how to adapt to disappointment, how to adapt to change in plans. If you think of it even similar to how Virgo can have a similar expectation as well, needing something to, but Virgo, it's less of the emotional need. With Virgo, can be more of this need for something to be precise or to be finalized, or for something to be in a certain time, a certain place, a certain way, right? That predictability factor also can be seen sometimes with Taurus for different reasons. So this is the archetype of Cancer where, if we really care about someone or we want to understand them more, it is important to notice that it's not always this being a baby or being a crybaby or being upset for that reason, but more so something that is secure has now been disrupted. And it could be plans, it could be, their feelings towards how someone's treating them. It could be, feeling like their environment is disrupted. Environment is very important for, I would say, especially Cancer and Taurus, the need for the environment to feel safe. Now, Taurus, it's more of the physical and aesthetics and, where things are, how they're placed. And Cancer, it really has to feel like a safe sense of home. Okay? So when Cancer is put out of its zone of predictability, when Cancer is put in an uncomfortable situation, that is where you sometimes will see more of that disruptive type of person, whereas they can go up and down, but it's going to be based on their level of comfort. Maybe sometimes some people make them feel better and then you notice their mood goes up, right? So this would be the archetype here. But what I wanted to dive more in is understanding why. The biggest thing with astrology that I think is important is the why. Not the, oh, this sign does this and this sign does that. There is no sign that is above all. I know people get into their ego game, but that's really not what actual spiritual ascension's about. If you are really here to evolve as a person, it's not about bragging about how, if you're bragging, that's not spirituality, right? And though we can accomplish things because of spirituality, or we can have goals within the realm of spirituality, right? if once we get to that zone, we're competing with people and saying what sign is better. Those are not people really, and I know sometimes we may joke, I get it, right? Those are not people really in tune with full spirituality. If the whole purpose of you being into astrology is to brag, then there's something missing that you have not yet developed to understand what it really can mean, right? So now we move on to the second archetype. Now, this is more of that type that has to seek connection with other people. This is the Cancer asking you, are you okay? This is the Cancer who knows you haven't been feeling good, and they bring you a treat to work. This is the person who knows what you need. And these Cancers can be very influential, and they can make you feel a sense of closeness. They make you feel cared for. So unlike the first, where it's a little bit more centered on what that person wants, the second type is more centered on what others need, because that fills their need to give and to care for those around them. Okay? That is the person who looks out for you. This is the type, and again, it doesn't have to mean it's a mother, but it's that same instinctual level of I'm looking out for someone. And even if it's a friendship type of situation, this Cancer archetype person looks out for those they care for. Doesn't mean they're always a bleeding heart type, but there's this need to connect and influence other people emotionally. Do you see the difference between the first and the second? Okay, again, with Cancer energy, I've seen these people genuinely ask, are you okay? How are you doing? Let me check up on you. Yeah, and they prioritize sometimes others' needs above their own. Now, you would want to make sure you don't go too far into that, but that is something that's possible within this type of energy. Now, when we think of Cancer energy, one thing it surprises some people is Cancer is also can be good at performance or creative performance, creative expression. Now, this is going to be, you see some actors are often associated with Cancer energy. That is because this is the ability to influence the emotions of other people. Okay, and so this second type, because of this desire to impact others, what you can notice here is that they do have more of a desire to reach out. So their emotions are not fully just internalized, but they become more about connectivity, influencing the emotions of other people. Okay, being that type of figure, that big brother type, that big sister type, that motherly type, right? That person who wants to make sure you're good, make sure that you're okay. All right. An example also when I was talking about this energy of like actor and being able to, elicit emotions from other people. We also, example here is Robin Williams. Now, obviously, Robin Williams, near the end of his life was going through a lot mentally and suffering with a lot on his mind. But throughout his career, like the range of characters he portrayed, diving deep into himself to portray people in order to make people laugh, to make people feel, right? Because some of his movies weren't comedies, they were dramas. So that's just something to keep in mind there. The third type of Cancer. So this is the type that I think a lot of times people really don't notice that this is a Cancer. This can be a Cancer trait. Now, this is the type of Cancer person who is going to be a little bit more on the side of needing to do a little bit more with being successful. Now, we have to remember that the opposite sign of Cancer is Capricorn, okay? And anytime we have signs on the axis, there is some level of similarity, okay? But it's different. It's like, hey, we both value security, but we're going to do it different ways, okay? And so this could be the Cancer type of person who's very successful in terms of how they proceed through business. Now, how they get certain situations, how they handle certain situations in ways that come out in their favor. Now, the difference here is the reason why for this type of person, as opposed to Capricorn, is Cancer is trying to preserve its sense of safety, financial safety, home, property, owning things that are theirs, feeling a sense of contentment. So this person may look on the outside just as successful and driven as someone else, but what they're really doing and thinking through is things and situations that allow for them to accumulate more in order for them to satisfy themselves emotionally. I say Cancer energy, some Cancers choose what to, it's more Scorpio with the choosing thing, but they can choose what to apply that Cancer energy to. So again, there'll be the archetype here of parent, mother, the nurturing. It's not always about nurturing. It's not always about children. It's about nurturing something. And Cancer energy is going to find something to attach itself to. And so these Cancer energies may attach themselves to success. And that's why I have the safe here, right? It's about that type of person, because we also have to remember that Cancer is a cardinal energy. And so, yes, it may not be as impulsive as Aries or as enterprising at first as Capricorn, but what you will notice is that some of these people eventually use that cardinal energy. But again, they sometimes can be late bloomers. These types are waiting to feel secure before they really take on something to feel more successful. So with Aquarius, the first archetype is the one who wants to be a part of something. This is the Aquarius person who prioritizes friendships, prioritizes groups, prioritizes being involved in something, clubs, organizations. And the thing that I always say that sounds contradictory a lot of times with Aquarius is that Aquarius is the sign so-called of the individual, right? There's this more of this intellectual risk-taking. However, it is associated with the group, the collective, societal topics, wanting to be involved in a lot of different things. You'll see an Aquarius person, sometimes they like to be involved. They like to know a lot of different things of what's going on. Now, that's a different reason than why Gemini likes to know what's going on, right? So Aquarius is doing it in order to determine some sense of validity to their own experiences, okay? And if you look at this image here, we do see that obviously there's one person in front. And so though Aquarius can care about the collective, this is a sign that is not going to, there's still always going to be this clear understanding of what they personally think, okay? If we're looking at it from the opposite lens, think about Leo and Aquarius can be leaders of the group, but they're going to be leaders for different reasons. Okay, Aquarius is not necessarily doing it in order to be heralded as this hero or this great leader. Aquarius simply wants to make sure that it's very clear where they stand on certain things. And of course, it can get confusing because Aquarius can abruptly really shock you sometimes with what they think and their opinions. There can be that shock value sense to the Aquarius. But this type is not going to do it so much to rub other people the wrong way. That is because this type identifies closely with liking to be a part of something, okay? Sometimes you can see people that like being a part of, they prefer to work for an organization. They prefer to work for, but typically, what you see with that, when they work among an organization, they work somewhere, there does need to still be this ability to not follow everything clearly and specifically the way it's supposed to be. That is very different than how Capricorn can be very industrious in following tradition, following certain methodologies for how things are supposed to be. So Aquarius can kind of get the group thinking, gets the group to understand where they're coming from. And if they can be a leader among the thought of the group, that's great for Aquarius. But this is the type that does find these friendships, these close-knit groups as important. And a lot of times people would get confused, like, wait, friendship is about caring about each other and it's about bonds. And Aquarius is not a very touchy-feely type of sign. Yes, but in this case, it's more about the camaraderie. That's why you can also see it, Aquarius as this brotherhood, right? So to speak, the quote unquote, obviously you don't have to be a male for that. That kind of symbolism of like what it means, the collective, being a part of something, being a part of this group. And we have the shared views. And so because of that, that makes us a unit together. Okay. Now your second type might be more of the Aquarius that doesn't need to be around a bunch of people all the time. This might be the person who's perfectly fine going off to their own devices. Very highly evolved mentally. When you look here at this image, there is a lot going on inside their mind. Aquarius energy can certainly be linked to this kind of creative genius energy. And it's because it's not afraid to cross boundaries to get to an answer. Okay, Aquarius energy, and that doesn't mean you have to be an Aquarius sun. Look at where Aquarius is in your chart. It's not afraid to cross boundaries to come up with something brand new. Okay, think about inventions. Think about just novel things that at first people might have thought they were crazy. Like, what? Think about when you first signed on, well, it depends on how old you are. But people who first signed on social media, you had no idea it was going to explode and then take over our world, right? When you first got a Facebook account, okay, and again, I'm talking to people who, during that age when social media started to come out, Facebook and then MySpace. Like at first, it was like this novel thing. And some people doubted it, right? Like, oh, this is just, something that's not going to last a long time. So, but understand that's Aquarian in nature, right? Evolving an idea to the point where now it is something that is going to push society and people further. But sometimes to do that, some Aquarian energy people have to do it in silence, do it by themselves. Okay, these are not the type that's going to need to be around a bunch of people all the time, but they might do something and have an idea that actually influences several people. Okay, and that is where we think of Aquarius energy is typically going to have some influence there. Now, sometimes the second type, that is where you might get more of that sarcastic type, the type that's not speaking to bring you in like the first one, but the type that just kind of says what's on their mind. It can seem a little bit brash, but sometimes it's this need and desire to say something in a way that is going to hit logic. But we understand that logic doesn't work in all situations. So, for example, it may be very logical to say something to someone, right? But it's not the best time to say it. Understanding people's temperament, understanding how they'll respond, right? But Aquarius energy can sometimes skip over that. Okay, Aquarius can be very intelligent, very smart, thinks very quickly on its feet, scientific mind too. There's sometimes a lack of warmness in how things are delivered, and this is what you see a lot within this second type, because the second type is not here to be a part of the community like the first type, but it's here to push their thoughts forward and to solve maybe a problem we have. And sometimes we need Aquarius energy, though, to sometimes say what needs to be said, because you can't always do things in a warm, fuzzy way. Now, your third type is where we would get into this idea of rebellion. This third type is where we're going to get into this concept of something that is, this is the type that's going to be a rebel rouser. This is the type that doesn't want to follow the rules. And maybe they have a better way for how to do things, right? So when we talk about being rebellious and pushing the boundaries, that is your third type. Now, you can sometimes have individuals, especially in childhood, who do this on purpose. This doesn't make sense. Why am I doing this? And Aquarius can be good at noticing things that don't logically make sense. Okay? But the third type is here to disrupt the status quo. Right? This is the type that has more of that courage and boldness to move past the confines of how society structures us and socializes us. And this is the type that has more social implications. This is the type that, and maybe it's not they're solving all of society's issues. This is the type that maybe in the workplace they're organizing a union. This is the type that among the family, they're the ones breaking the generational curse, because they don't want to respect the family member that they feel has been abusive their whole life. They're like, I'm not respecting them just because they're my so-and-so, right? Aquarius, the third type, is breaking the status quo, and sometimes we have to have that person willing to take that risk before others follow. Okay, so that's what we would see more so with that third type. Scorpio. Okay, so with Scorpio, the first type we're going to get, look at this lock, right? Where's the key, right? With Scorpio, sometimes Scorpio energy, and again, I'm talking about Scorpio as an energy. We can, of course, apply this to the sun, moons, rising, wherever Scorpio is in your chart, but also know when you get a chart interpretation, that makes everything clear of how this would represent, how this will manifest in you. So sometimes the first type, you don't know where the key is. This is the mysterious type. This is the type that you have to peel back the layers to really understand something about them. And sometimes, remember, Scorpio internalizes so much, it can be situations and issues from the past that have stopped them from being able to be as open about who they are and what they want as other people or other signs. So your first type is going to kind of be very private. Right? There's going to be things about them you didn't know. There could be things about them that they choose not to share with you. They choose not to show you. They, especially when you get close to a person like this, please understand there's definitely going to be some things you have to unpack for that person. And sometimes, some will be honest here, some Scorpios like that. They like you having to figure them out because that's investment. And what do we know about Scorpio? 8th house, investment, right? Amongst many other things, I have the video about the 8th house, but invest in me. And then I'm going to let you know who I am. Invest in me, and then I'm going to give you the key to unlock and show you who I really am. So that is the first type that, and sometimes it is about trust. There are people who are smart enough, I would say, to know we can't trust everybody with our feelings and our emotions. We can't trust everyone's motives in our lives. So until you prove to me that you are what you say you are, I'm not going to let everything out. Okay, so your first type, you might have to warm up. Scorpio might not always be a sign where it's easy to warm up to them at first. You might not even know if they like you. Right? They're observing you, but you can't even tell, right? So doesn't mean not to try with them, but it does mean that this, the more you get to know them, the more they see that you're consistent, then you might have more of an ability to have that sense of connection and be able to really, start to trust and, confide in one another with this. Okay. Now, the second type. Now, if we look here, this image here, it's basically about control, okay? It's controlling, it's moving something around. This is the second type where they like to handle everything. There are Scorpio types who know how to handle situations. They know how to get things done. And this is the type of Scorpio that has everything under control in terms of their household, in terms of their family, their work life. And by everything, of course, I don't know if there's a human being that has every single thing that they want in their life under control. So I don't mean it literally, but by everything, I mean they're the type that knows how to respond to situations. Scorpio that has the internal understanding and that also intuitive understanding of what to do next. And that's why sometimes I say Scorpio energy people can be good at responding to crisis, responding to situations that need their support. It doesn't mean they love doing it. Some people do if that's their career, but it's that they know how to do it. And that because of that Mars and Pluto energy, Scorpio energy has to find a way to control. And so if a person's a Scorpio and they don't want to control people literally, which some of them try or can do, I'm going to control the situations around me. Okay? So your second archetype is the one that is more strategic, okay? This might be the type that is more so suited to organize situations that require them to allow others to understand where they're coming from, giving orders, having people where they want them to be, right? Making sense of things. Making sense of things in a way in which the Scorpio, of course, Scorpio is not operating from an air energy or Mercury energy. Scorpio is operating under an energy of getting things where they need to be in order for there to be a sense of, taking something and transforming it to something more. Right? So this is the type like, whoa, this situation's out of control. I'm going to take control of it. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And again, the second type also can have a warmness to them. All Scorpios are not this lock and key type, so guarded. There are types that their way to showing appreciation and love is to help you out. No. You're taking off today because you don't feel good. That Scorpio, there are those type of Scorpios. No. I'm going to take care of this. You take care of that because you're not feeling too good right now. Or I know that you had a bad, rough week. So let me do this. There are those type of Scorpios. Okay. Now, again, what I'm saying is very general because this is not a birth chart reading, right? A birth chart reading would obviously go more in depth about your own placements and things of that nature. The third type. Okay. The third type is that type that we hear a lot about being, people drawn to them. Here we have a magnet. Here is where the first type can sometimes be, the mystery is I don't know what to make of this person. The third type is when you have the type, people just always are drawn to this person's energy. People are drawn. They are attracted. Attracted can be romantically or non-romantically. They're drawn in, they're attracted, they want something from this person, they want to be in their orbit, right? Your third type of Scorpio is the type that kind of even manifests without even really trying. Now, we could argue that, typically manifesting is you trying to attract the things that you want and the people that you want into your life. But the third type of Scorpio is that type that even can draw a lot of attention, even when they don't want a lot of attention. But in some way, it's that people see something in them of value, of gain. If I'm around this person, I can gain something. You have to be careful of that. Scorpio can tend to be a bit guarded in that way. But also Scorpio can be really, right? Scorpio can attach itself quickly, that magnet there, to what it wants as well. And I've said this on multiple videos. Scorpio has to be careful. It's a fixed energy. It's a water energy. And so when Scorpio has made something valuable in its mind, and unlike Taurus that can see the practicality in things, and Taurus can get rid of things a little bit easier. Sometimes it's like, that doesn't have value, unless they determine value for it. Scorpio, that emotional lens, okay? So it becomes important to also know, yes, you could be drawn a lot of people when you're younger, and you had that Scorpio energy, especially if you're dealing with people who are really, they're just trying to understand themselves. Maybe they're even trying to understand their own, desires, their own sexuality, and not knowing truly who you want to be around, who you want to attract, knowing when to cut people off. So some Scorpios have to learn that. It's not a natural thing that all Scorpios, yes, all Scorpios are going to share certain similarities, right? And again, I tell people all the time, there's a range in all of these signs that is important to understand and study. But the third type has to be more aware of their emotions, more aware of who they're attracting, more aware of really understanding fully what types of connections they want. Because again, those Scorpio energy can be great in terms of empowerment, great in terms of gaining from the world around it, 8th house type stuff, right? And again, I know there's more to the 8th house, there's a whole video. But the other thing you got to be careful about is destruction. Destruction. This is Mars and Pluto together. This is Scorpio. Being self-destructive, being in relationships that are destructive, being in situations where just because someone's drawn to you doesn't mean that they're drawn to you for the right reasons, right? And how do you learn to really deal with that and arrange your life in a way in which you are very much loyal to your own inner needs? And Scorpio individual, this one is only drawing in and attracting and making room for people, situations that truly allow them to evolve. Because Scorpio can get stuck in that one emotion, in that one feeling for a person, situation, right? And think that they're holding on for a reason. And like, I'm being loyal. I'm holding on. This is mine. But then learning when to let go and how to let go. And of course, how easy that would really be determined by the chart.